In this problem, we're told that Genevieve is going to throw a rock from the top of a trail overlooking the ocean. When she throws the rock upward from 160 feet above the ocean, the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 48t plus 160 models the height h of the rock above the ocean as a function of time t. And then we're asked to find the zeros of the function, which will tell us when the rock will hit the ocean, when the rock will be 160 feet above the ocean, and the height of the rock at t equals 1.5 seconds. So the first step of this is the zeros of the function, which will tell us when the rock will hit the ocean. So how do we find the zeros of a function? Well, we set h of t equal to 0. So the zeros are when the function h of t equals 0. So we just take our function, negative 16 t squared plus 48t plus 160. We set it equal to 0. Now, what we should notice right off the bat, number one, we have a negative leading coefficient, so we're going to want to factor out that negative. But then we also have a common factor, our greatest common factor of 16, 48, and 160 is just 16. So negative 16 times t squared. We change the sign because we factored out the negative, so negative 16 times t squared minus 16 times 3 is 48, so minus 3t. And then again, the plus becomes a minus because we factored out a negative. And then 16 times 10 equals 160. We set that equal to 0. Now we'll factor negative 16 times, we want two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to negative 3. That would be t minus 5 times t plus 2. Well, we know negative 16 does not equal 0. So that gives us the options of t minus 5 equals 0 or t plus 2 equals 0. So that gives us t equals 5 or t equals negative 2. Well, we can't have negative time in this instance, so we know that's not it. So we know that the zero of the function is when t equals 5 seconds. So what that tells us is that at 5 seconds, the rock, excuse me, at 5 seconds, the rock will hit the ocean. Now, in the second part of the problem, we're asked when the rock will be 160 feet above the ocean. So that means we have an h of 160. So what we would do is we would set the entire function equal to 0, or equal to 160, sorry. So h of t equals 160, so that gives us negative 16t squared plus 48t plus 160 equals 160. Well, if we factor out, or if we subtract the 160 from both sides, that leaves us with negative 16t squared plus 48t equals 0. If we factor out the negative 16, that gives us negative 16 times t squared minus, actually, we'll factor out a 16, the negative 16 and a t, so negative 16t times t, and then the plus becomes a minus because we factored out a negative, and then negative 16 times 3 times negative 3 would give us 48, and we already factored out the t's. So that equals 0. So this tells us that negative 16t equals 0, or t minus 3 equals 0. And that gives us t equals 0, or t equals 3. So what this tells us is that she has thrown the rock up, just as we said. It says Genevieve is going to throw a rock from the top of a trail overlooking the ocean. When she throws the rock upward. Now, if she just dropped it, then the only time it's going to be at 160 feet is at t equals 0, because she's dropping it from 160 feet. But this indicates that she threw the rock upward. So that kind of verifies our solutions in the sense that the rock will be at 160 feet above the ocean at 0 seconds, when t equals 0, and at 3 seconds. So it leaves her hand at t equals 0, at 0 seconds. She throws it up, and then 3 seconds later, it falls back down to where she started throwing the rock to begin with. All right, now we're asked to find the height of the rock at t equals 1.5 seconds. Now, we should recognize something because of our solution to part B. The rock will be at 160 feet at 0 seconds and at 3 seconds. Well, 1.5 seconds is in between 0 and 3. So what does that tell us? That tells us we should get a solution that's greater than 160. Because it's in that period of time where she threw the rock up and it hadn't come back down yet to where she started. So to find the height of the rock at t equals 1.5 seconds, we're looking for h of 1.5. We substitute 1.5 for t. So negative 16 times 1.5 squared plus 48 times 1.5 plus our initial height of 160. So now we just simplify, and what we end up with is negative 16 times 1.5 squared is going to be 2.25. And then 48 times 1.5 is 72. 48 times 1 is 48. 48 times 1 half, or 0.5, is 24. You add those two, we get 72. And that's still plus 160. Now this equals 2.25 times negative 16, which is negative 36. Plus 72 plus 160, which equals 36, plus 160, which equals 196 feet. So at t equals 1.5 seconds, the rock is 196 feet above the ocean.